Good morning, everyone. As you see here, we have the alpha kit for CYBERPUNK TCG, which is launching on March 17th. WeirdCo has been so gracious with sending this to me and to go ahead and review and open up for y'all. So here is the packaging, right? I know this is probably like the least interesting part. What do you guys want to see? The cards, the contents of what's in here. Here we go. So. Oh, we got ourselves a nice little playmat here. Pretty standard when you get like a starter deck from like other games. They'll include like a playmat. Oh, there's two of them. Oh, that's sick. Okay, I didn't realize that there would be two of them. That's pretty dope. And they're full size. Look at that. My playmat underneath, it covers it all. So. Damn, I was not expecting this. Hold on, let me see if I could just do this number. I'm doing this in the kitchen, so look, it covers the playmat that I have. The Spy Hunter, what the fuck? Spy X Family playmat, like entirely. So this is like a good size right here, and there's two of them. That's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, and I noticed this on the back as well. It has a how to play guide. You know, showing the different phases, the turn structure, the differences between Legend Unit Programs gears, you know, the anatomy of a card, all that, how to win. So at any point, you know, you could just turn it over and refresh yourself on the rules. Get this one out. And there's our first card, Yorinobu. In all his angry, egotistical glory. Oh my god! Oh, the foot is so good. All right, we'll go over that stuff here in a second. Okay, and then what does this say? Welcome to the official CYBERPUNK trading card rule. Oh, just a general overview. This is basically what was on their website, and these are the decks. Okay, so these are the two decks, and just bear in mind that. If you end up playing with the alpha kit, let's say you print out proxies, these are meant to be like a closed experience is how they describe it, meaning no customization. You can't switch out cards from here to here and vice versa. You can't do anything like that. If you want to experience what the alpha kit has to offer, you play with the deck list that they have. Again, no customizations. Now let's see, what do we have in here? Are these going to be the dice? I feel like this is the dice. It's kind of tightly packed in there. Oh, yeah, and it's the dice. Oh, this is pretty sick. Oh, they're supposed to be in there, but it's okay. Look at that. They're just like, these actually look pretty nice. You see the little shine that they have in there. The glossy look. They're just, standard plastic. Yeah, like standard plastic dice. I think they're made out of plastic, right? Aren't dice typically made out of plastic or something? Well, whatever. This is how they look right here. Actually, I'll just take this out, to be honest. There we go. So here are the dice that it came with. 6 of them to represent the 6 gigs. This is the first time I've seen this type of dice right here. Like this type of 4-sided die. Usually it's a little sort of like a pyramid triangle thing. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the colors and how they pop and everything. And they're light. You know, I'm a fan of metal dice, so I do hope that they have metal dice in the Kickstarter. Just because I'm a huge fan. I love metal dice. The heavier and clunkier, sure, but whatever. That's why we use dice trays, right? Anyways, but yeah, that's pretty sick. And I'm fairly certain that this is just... And this, of course, is going to be the other set. Yep. Oh, they're different colors. Oh, shit. This is mine right here. This is my colors right here. Look at that. Look at the difference. Look at that. I did not even realize that there would be different colors. I thought it'd just be copies. That's pretty dope. I love this sort of variety, or this sort of variation. Look at that. That's sick. That's actually really cool. These are gonna be mine. These are gonna be mine for sure. But that's dope. I love that. Let's see if there's anything before we get into the cards. If there's anything underneath. No, there's nothing else underneath unless there's some sort of hidden compartment, which I doubt. All right, now we'll go ahead and open up the Yorinobu. I wonder if each of the alpha kits has just like one like main alt card, right? Look at that. So here is Yorinobu. You see how it shines in the light, and you see that texture. Look at that. That is pretty cool. That's pretty fucking cool, I'm not gonna lie. And I could feel it through the gloves too. Like I could feel like the texture. Look at that. Oh, sweet baby boy. But anyways, that's dope. Oh, is the back? The back is just normal. Like there's no, which I guess makes sense. Like if you were to play without the sleeves, without sleeves, you know, you wouldn't want to distinguish the back from the front. So there's Yorinobu. Now we'll go ahead and open up the other ones. Actually, before I do this, Anya's face is mine right now. Oh! Don't think I'll need that for this. Let's see. Oh, and they have a nice little pull tab here. Always check for these little easy tabs. You don't want to, you know, start going crazy on it if you don't need to. Okay. So here is the first deck, which is gonna be, boom, the Arasaka deck. So we'll get these how to plays out the way, and we'll just spread them out. All right, so here are the cards. If you want to print out your own deck list, I'll be sure to go over how much of each of these, of each individual card there is, the play sets, right? Because you could only have a maximum of 3. So like this one, there's 3 of these, of corporate surveillance, but then for example, there's only 2 of the Sandevistan. So I'll be sure to include that in the description. All these cards are on the Card Nexus website. So if you wanted to get a look at them online and download your and screenshot, get your proxies from there, that's the official place that's hosting the different cards. So first thing I'm going to go over is just the art, right? Like the art is amazing. It definitely has that cyberpunk aesthetic, like that feel. Like I see this and I immediately think cyberpunk, right? Like with everything, you know, like I feel like that's pretty sick. You know, like this isn't alt art or anything. These just look hella cool. Like even as something as the Corpo Security, right? Like this still, it's a very simple little 2-drop blocker, but it's really cool. Like just the art. Not to mention the fact that some of these just look like they've been ripped out of a comic, which I think that they have said that they have taken some comic book panels and have implemented them into the game as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was one. Little tidbit for y'all who might be new to the cyberpunk world. The reason this says hustle and not muscle is because this is a combination of hired muscle. So they don't just say, oh yeah, they're hired muscle or whatever. They call them hustle. Just a little cyberpunk slang for you there. Oh, and the last thing I should mention is that all of this stuff, all of the text, the cost of the cards to play them, the power on the cards themselves, you know, like right here. All of this stuff is still very much subject to change by the time the game releases. Weirdco has been very intentional with the way that they've been labeling these as the alpha kit, like to signify like these are, and this is the alpha stages, right? This is still very early on in the development of the game. So all this text here, whatever, like even the fact that this Goro is a legend might change. So just keep that in mind. And I should mention, I'm not going to go over gameplay in this video. I'm just going over the kit, the cards, and just generally what's in them. Gameplay will come in another video because I want to go to my local game stores and ask people to play to get their impressions of the game. You know, I want to see what normal TCG players or people who aren't into Cyberpunk, just to sort of see what their thoughts are. You know what I mean? I think that'd be pretty cool to get their initial reactions. So with that said, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area and you want to try out the game, let me know. Comment below. We could make it happen. You know what I mean? And I will preface that because I know some people are going to ask. It's just natural to ask. But no, I will not be giving you any of these cards. I think that goes without saying, but I'm saying it anyways. And one thing I want to mention, even though I'm wearing gloves, I do like the general feel of the cards. I know this is early production, but it already feels pretty good. I think WeirdCo has mentioned that they're testing out different card manufacturers. These are essentially, from what I understand, their first batch of cards that they've made, and they're just sort of, maybe not the first batch, but you know, very early on in the iteration, just to get some cards out there ready to go for the test kit, and that way people could go ahead and just, you know, review the game in general, while also providing feedback on the cards themselves. So my feedback here would be, I hope that WeirdCo does get a different stock for the cards. Just a little bit more, I don't know, like Riftbound, for example. Riftbound has some pretty good cards. Their cards are pretty good, you know, and these definitely do seem more, they're more malleable. Not malleable, but you get what I'm saying. But that aside, great overall feel. I would like is for the RAM symbols to be just a little bit bigger. I feel like they're just a little bit too small. I think maybe not the size. Maybe not. They don't have to be the size of this, right? But maybe the size would be like maybe 80% of the way here, pretty like close to this, just because it's pretty small in general. The only other thing that I would like to see is, because I just noticed this now, white on yellow is not good contrasting colors. Maybe if they add a black outline to the numbers, so that way it pops out more so it's easier to read, that would be great. See, because, so unlike blue, you could see the blue way easier just at a quick glance. The yellow might take you a second. You know what I mean? So if they do black outline for the cards, for the power, that'd be pretty dope. And as far as whether or not this 08, I'm sort of torn. And even up here, this 05, I'm sort of torn on if the 0 even needs to be there. Because unless there's some sort of functional reason the 0 has to be there, I feel like you could just say 5. And I feel like you could just say 8. You know? Just to reduce the amount of text, like, on the cards. And maybe that space can be filled with something else, or, you know, it allows a little bit more breathing room for other things. Like maybe if people say the text is too small here, by reducing this to just 8, you could reduce this symbol for the power, enlarging the text a little bit. And the same thing here, if, you know, you remove the 0 from here, make it just a flat 5, maybe you could make the eddy sign bigger, which I don't think it needs to be, because it's just a symbol and it's easier to tell like what that's for. Whereas the RAM, you know, it's pretty small, and then the cost of the RAM is even smaller. You know what I mean? So there are some things from a font size standpoint that I do think can be changed. Removing the zeros, outlining with black just to make it pop more, because this is a lot easier to read than this, and this is a lot easier to read than that, you know, on the yellow. And on that note, I wonder if, let me see what it looks like on the red and the green. So the green is okay. White contrasts with green pretty okay. But even then, the zeros, could probably do away with the zeros. And then the red, just adding a black outline or something to contrast this is fine. But like you see here, like trying to see what this RAM card cost is, even for me right now in person, I can't. It's hard for me to tell what that number is because it is so small. Where even on camera, you might have a little bit of an issue, like on your screen. You know what I mean? So like for me, I actually have to bring it up and like look like pretty for a decent amount of for like just a little bit too long to actually discern that this is a ×2. The RAM costs definitely need to be bigger. Yeah, especially like for red, I can't read that for shit. Green, I could read it because of the way that the colors contrast is a lot clearer. But that aside, the RAM cost should be bigger in general. Like even here, even though it's not like, even though the Minotaur is not, doesn't have the same red background, so you would think, oh, it's going to be easier to read. It's still not easy to read. Like I can't tell what that says from this distance. Like my hand is fully extended, by the way. So like I'm like this. My hand is fully extended. Okay, so I can't read that. If I want to read it, I have to bring it up like to my face, like about 8 inches away from my face to actually see what this reads. So I could see that being an issue for people with very poor vision or potentially, I'm not sure how it would affect colorblind individuals, but point being, it's just hard to read. Yeah, same thing here. It's still hard to read. So the red is definitely the worst when it comes to the RAM costs, from what I gather. Yeah, because I could read the yellow one no problem, even at full distance. The red the yellow one I could read. So the red is by far the worst when it comes to the RAM cost. The yellow is the worst when it comes to trying to read this quickly, because the white on yellow just doesn't work that well. Yeah, so those are my critiques, essentially. But as far as the cards themselves, how they feel, how they look, artistically, everything, like if it has all the necessary information, solid. All great. I could see that this is Evelyn Parker, scheming Siren. She's a doll. When a rival steals one or more friendly gigs, if this unit is spent, draw a card. I could read all that just fine. Perfect. No issues. And again, the art's amazing. I really love it. The feel of them is fine. The cards are a little bit, they do feel just a little bit easier to bend than, say, like cards from Riftbound, right? It just feels a little bit easier. But those are like my main, I guess, concerns and critiques of the cards themselves. So, as I said, I'm going to list out the deck lists for all the cards. You'll see them in either the description, end of the video. But as far as I can tell, pretty solid. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, and this is the alpha kit, so this stuff is very early on. Like, they've probably already addressed all these issues by the time this video goes up. But, you know, this stuff's amazing. Like, I love it. So right now, I feel confident in saying WordCo is heading in the right direction. They clearly have a pretty good idea of what they're doing. So I'm not worried about where this game is going, how it's going to be treated, and what have you. I think they're pretty solid in what they're doing. Yeah, this just ups my optimism gets me even more excited for the release of the game and for the Kickstarter to pop off. So yeah, so I'm very excited for it. That said, there's no gameplay here. I'm gonna plan that in a future video, maybe a couple future videos, like I said, with some local players at the different game stores that will allow me to record. And then yeah, other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, Kickstarter launches March 17th, link below. Join the official Discord, link below. That said, Weirdco, thank you very much. I very much appreciate you sending this out to me, especially since I'm just starting out in my YouTube video career, if you will. But thank you again. Very much appreciate it. I'm very excited for the game. Please think about the critiques that I gave for the cards. And, you know, if that's already been addressed on your guys' end, hey, you know what? Don't even need to listen to me. But in either case, I hope y'all enjoyed. Have a great day, and be on the lookout for some gameplay video coming soon. All right, peace. All right, so I was done with the video and I was sleeving all the cards. But one thing that I wanted to point out is the size of the cards. They are standard, but they do poke out. I don't know. I don't think this has happened with other standard size cards. And these are perfect sleeves right here. Okay, standard. And it's not just Yorinobu. I didn't realize it at first, but you can see here, even with Mandibular Upgrade, they poke out ever so slightly. I don't think I've seen this with other cards. Like, I don't think I've experienced that with Riftbound, for example. And then, yeah, so all of them stick out just a tiny bit. So there's another little critique slash feedback for Weirdco. Hopefully you can get the manufacturers of the cards to make this tiny adjustment moving forward. But yeah, other than that, again, the cards feel really good. They're still pretty good for an alpha card stock. So okay, so I'm coming back real quick because I wanted to go over the quality of the cards here. So again, I do want to emphasize that these are alpha kits. So these are most likely very early iterations of the cards. But I brought out my Riftbound deck and to compare, because I was like, there's something I couldn't quite tell what it was, right? What I was doing, so this is not scientific, and for all intents and purposes, I don't have a microscope or anything, so I can't fully tell, but you could kind of see, I think this one's actually a little bit thicker. But here's the thing, when I take them, because I was trying to figure out how to best show this, and it's really hard because you have to feel it. But when I take them and I go like this, the give for the Weirdco cards is more than the Riftbound cards. It's you could probably see it there. I'm doing my best to apply the exact same pressure. Okay, like my absolute best. The Weirdco cards do flex a lot easier, and you could feel it. I think it's a matter of density. Like maybe Weirdco's is thicker, but the density and the structure of the Riftbound cards, for example, is more like compact and tight or something like that. I don't know how that works, but there's that. Another thing that it could be is this. So I saw this. I figured this out earlier. If you take the cards and line them up, Weirdco's cards are bigger. See that? Not like extreme. I'm trying to line it up here, but like about that much bigger. Okay. Like you see the yellow sticking out of the edges there, like that's about how much bigger that they are compared to the Riftbound. They're bigger both vertically, lengthwise, and widthwise. They're bigger. Okay. Now that could also play a factor as to why the Weirdco cards feel easier to flex and not as compact, because that extra length, you know, when you stretch something out, usually the area in the middle or the whole property of it, it gets a little bit easier to bend when you stretch it out, right? Whereas if you have something that's a little bit more compact, a little bit more tighter, generally speaking, it's a little bit firmer. So that could also be a reason as to why there's this difference. And now I'll show you what it looks like when they're in the perfect sleeves, just to sort of show you what the difference is. So both perfect sleeves are both, so like right here, I could feel the edges being tight, right? I was wondering that at first. And then with the comparison, you saw that it's bigger. And then now, when we zoom in, or you bring it up close, see how it sticks out from the top, the Weirdco one, but then the Riftbound one, it like perfectly goes right underneath, like it doesn't stick out at all. So there's the one factor there, but then of course that doesn't really matter a whole lot once you put them into the actual sleeves themselves. However, the concern that I brought up before is that this sticking out, if something was to get into the perfect sleeve, it makes it a lot easier for the card to get some sort of substance on it, as opposed to this one where it's not sticking out. Sure, it might still get something on there, but it's just that smallest little bit of extra chance that it will get more stuff on it if something was to come in here. It is still something that should be addressed. But yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and showcase that, to try to explain what it was that I was feeling about the cards themselves. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you on the next one.